She was sold to a human commander to repay her father's debt. Everyone expected her to cry, but when her glowing tears touched the ground, they vanished. And the man she feared most became her destiny. The twin moons of Virella hung low over the horizon, casting pale silver light across the military compound. Commander Arik Danner stood at the edge of the training yard, sweat glistening on his scarred arms. He'd been through wars, survived black hole blockades, and negotiated ceasefires with pirates, yet somehow paperwork still terrified him. He leaned against a rail, rubbing his temples. 12 years of service, he muttered, and I'm still losing arguments to a supply form. His voice carried the tired humor of a man who'd seen too much and slept too little. Behind him, a drone buzzed, scanning his vitals. Stress levels elevated, it chirped. Arik sighed. No kidding. Across the galaxy, in the emerald cities of the Vidian Dominion, Lyra Terene sat in her father's study, her hands trembling as she read the contract glowing on the holoscreen. The air smelled of ozone and guilt. Her father, Kalor, stood by the window, his green features drawn tight. "You're offering me like a shipment," she whispered. "I'm offering survival," he said quietly. "Our trade fleet was destroyed. The humans saved what's left of us. We owe Commander Danner more than credits can cover." Lyra's voice cracked. "Then you marry him." Kalor's silence said everything. Tradition demanded blood, not logic. Debt paid with life. Lyra pressed her palms together, forcing composure. Her species' tears, bright metallic, welled up but never fell. They hovered for a heartbeat before evaporating into the air like starlight. She hated that. Even her sorrow looked beautiful against her will. The next morning, she boarded a human transport under diplomatic escort. The ship was sterile, humming with foreign technology and colder manners. She watched the stars blur into lines as they entered warp, feeling every light year stretch across her chest. When the turbulence hit, alarms flared. System malfunction, oxygen breach in Deck 4, panic spread. Lyra unbuckled, trying to help, but before she could move, a blinding light filled the cabin. A rescue ship docked, its hull marked with the insignia of Earth Command. Through the cracked viewport, she saw a human in battle armor pulling survivors out one by one. His visor lifted for a brief second, and when their eyes met, her silver tears vanished completely. For the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt recognition. Commander Arik Danner wasn't used to surprises, but a marriage contract from Interstellar Command topped his list. He stood in his quarters, staring at the holographic signature authorization flickering before him. "So let me get this straight," he said, glancing at the base's legal officer. "To settle an alien debt, I'm supposed to marry the merchant's daughter?" The officer shrugged, uncomfortable. "It's a diplomatic matter, sir. You're the only human she's legally bonded to through alliance law." Arik rubbed his jaw. "Great. I spend my life avoiding emotional attachments, and now bureaucracy ships me a wife." He tried to laugh it off. But it came out hollow. When Lyra stepped into the command hall, every conversation in the room stilled. Her emerald skin shimmered faintly beneath the soft lights. Her silver hair was tied in a way that looked ceremonial, but defiant. She looked at Arik like someone studying a storm, cautious, unyielding, and entirely unamused. "I am Lyra Terene of the House of Kalor," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "This arrangement is under protest." Arik gave a half-smile. "Good. That makes two of us." For a heartbeat, the tension cracked. A flicker of reluctant amusement passed between them. The officiation drone, completely oblivious to tone, began reciting the interspecies marriage oath. "Do you, Commander Arik Danner?" "Apparently, yes," Arik interrupted dryly. Lyra blinked. "Is sarcasm part of human custom?" "Only the good parts," he replied. When the ceremony concluded, the drone congratulated them with a cheerful bond registered. "May your union bring fiscal harmony," Arik muttered, romantic as a tax audit. Later, in the quiet of his home, they shared the awkward silence of strangers bound by circumstance. Lyra studied the strange appliances, frowning at a coffee machine that whistled like an injured droid. "Does it always scream before feeding you?" Arik chuckled. "Depends who's making it angry." The laughter died as quickly as it came. Beneath the small talk, both felt the weight of unspoken fears, hers of being trapped, his of losing control of a life built on order. That night, as he walked past the guest room, Arik saw her standing by the window, bathed in silver moonlight. No tears this time, only quiet defiance, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he found himself smiling. 3 days after the wedding, the storm came, not from the sky, but from the stars. Arik was in the middle of training drills when the alert klaxons wailed. Incoming ships, unauthorized signatures, the comm officer shouted. By the time he reached the control deck, the radar was bleeding red. Pirates at first glance. But something about their formation was too organized, too precise. "Those aren't raiders," Arik muttered. "That's a tactical strike." In the chaos, Lyra was ushered toward the shelter tunnels, her heart racing. The base trembled as plasma fire rained down. She'd seen war before, on screens, not outside her window. The air smelled like ozone and fear. Then she saw one of the attacker's emblems flicker across a wrecked drone. Her breath hitched. It was Vidian, her own people. Moments later, the wall exploded. She was thrown backward, ears ringing, vision swimming. Through the dust, a shadow moved, tall, armored, human. "Lyra!" Arik's voice cut through the noise as he pulled her up, shielding her from falling debris. "You shouldn't be here!" she gasped. "Yeah, I've been told that since the wedding," he said. Half grinning despite the danger, he led her to the evac tunnels, firing at the incoming drones with precise bursts. Behind them, the hangar erupted. They barely made it inside before the entire sector collapsed. Hours later, silence. They found themselves in an abandoned communications dome, half buried under rubble. Lyra's hands trembled as she bandaged a cut on his arm. "They were my people, Arik, the ones who attacked. That symbol, it belongs to the Kalor Guild." His eyes softened. "Your father's network?" She nodded, guilt thick in her throat. "He lied to me, said it was about a debt. But this was never about money." Arik leaned back, wincing as she tightened the wrap. "You're saying your father sold you to hide something bigger?" Lyra looked away. "To hide me," outside thunder rolled. Inside, 2 fugitives sat in the glow of flickering power cells. One human, one alien, both caught in a web spun long before they ever met. For the first time, they weren't bound by a contract. They were bound by survival. They didn't sleep that night. The emergency lights flickered, shadows crawling across the walls, like ghosts of everything they'd left behind. Arik worked on repairing the old transmitter while Lyra sat nearby, tracing circuits with delicate precision. Every so often their hands brushed and neither pulled away. "You could have left me behind," she said softly, breaking the silence. "I tried," he replied, glancing up with a faint smirk. "Didn't work." A small laugh escaped her, the first genuine one since she'd arrived. For a moment it felt almost normal. But then the transmitter beeped, and a scrambled message came through. "Kalor Terrene captured. Deliver the girl. Coordinates attached." Her father was alive and bait. Lyra's breath caught. "They'll kill him if we don't go." Arik met her eyes, calm but resolute. "Then we go. Together." Their journey through the ruins was brutal. They moved through shattered domes, rusted drones, and old battlefields still humming with static. Between firefights, they traded stories. Hers about alien festivals and songs of light. His about human sarcasm and the tragedy of bad instant coffee. By the time they reached the orbital station, something unspoken bound them tighter than any contract ever could. Inside, the air reeked of metal and burnt ozone. Lyra spotted her father, restrained, pale but alive, surrounded by men in corporate insignia. One of them noticed her. "Finally," he sneered. "The power source returns." Before she could move, a machine clamped onto her wrist, siphoning a faint glow from her skin. Pain surged through her veins. The light, her tears, her birthright, turned against her. "Stop!" Arik's shout echoed. He fired twice, disabling the device, and caught her as she collapsed. Her skin shimmered faintly, veins pulsing silver beneath. "I can't control it," she whispered. "You don't have to," he said, pressing his forehead to hers. "Just trust me." He drew her into his arms, absorbing part of the radiance. The energy burst between them, violent yet breathtaking, engulfing the room in white fire. When the light faded, the station alarms went dead silent. Lyra opened her eyes first, trembling. "What did you do?" Arik smiled weakly. "Guess we're officially bound now." For once, she didn't argue. She just held on. When consciousness returned, Arik expected pain. Instead, there was light, soft, golden, alive. He blinked, disoriented, finding himself on a med-bay floor surrounded by silence and the faint scent of ozone. Lyra knelt beside him, hands glowing faintly as the energy faded from her skin. "You're alive," she whispered, half disbelief, half prayer. "Barely," he croaked, attempting a smile. "But you look worse." Her laugh broke through a sob. "Humans, always joking at the edge of death. It's how we keep it interesting." Behind them, the corporate soldiers lay unconscious, the containment chamber reduced to ash. Her father stirred weakly, voice trembling. "Lyra, you survived." She turned to him, conflicted. "You lied to me, father. About the debt, the bond, everything." Kalo's eyes filled with remorse. "I lied to protect you. The council would have used you as a weapon. I thought sending you away would keep you safe." Lyra's gaze softened, tears threatening again. But they didn't fall. They shimmered, suspended mid-air, then slowly dissolved like mist. "I forgive you," she whispered, "but this ends with me." Outside the station's viewport, dawn broke across Virella's twin moons, two suns rising over a world forever changed. Weeks passed. The Galactic Council labeled Arik a deserter, then a hero, then something in between. The news feeds called their bond the First Living Alliance. To him, it was simpler. She made him human again. One quiet evening, in their small hillside home overlooking the glowing city, Lyra teased him as he tried to cook. "You've nearly poisoned that pan 3 times, she said, arms crossed. "Experimental cuisine," he replied, waving the spatula like a weapon. "We humans call it bravery." She laughed, freely this time, and handed him the correct spice. "You call it that. I call it survival training." As night settled, she joined him on the balcony. Stars shimmered like slow sparks. Lyra leaned into his shoulder, her silver hair catching the starlight. "Do you ever think about how it started?" she murmured. "Every day," Arik said softly. "A debt, a contract, and then you." From inside the house came a small cry, their infants first. Lyra smiled. "Guess someone doesn't want to miss the sunrise." Arik rose, scooping the tiny child into his arms. The baby's eyes glowed faintly with mixed hues, blue and silver. He looked at Lyra, a quiet awe in his voice. "Looks like the universe just paid us back."